Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this channel, we will discuss a wide variety of security topics. As a security professional, I've been working in a blue team for a few years now, and I've decided to take this opportunity to basically share what I've learned throughout my years in the corporate world. So, in today's video, our topic will be about bots. So, in the world of cybersecurity, bots are a very known thing. They're known to cause a lot of chaos, and there are some good bots as well. So, yes, we will discuss what bots are, what are the different types of bots, are they good, are they bad, then we will focus on their impact in today's websites, right? You can think of e-commerce websites like Amazon or other, big e-commerce players, right? Bots are a big part of what they do. So we'll discuss the impact of bots in today's real-world organizations. And then from there, we'll also discuss the legalities of bots in terms of, hey, can you yourself generate or simulate a bot in today's environment? The do's, the don'ts, and everything in an ethical manner, obviously. And then we'll also discuss on how to detect these bots and how we can mitigate and how they are mitigated in today's world. So we'll stay up the hands-on approach in this video, but the following videos will be hands-on, so watch out for that. But with that said,
All right, guys, so let's start with the basics. So, what are bots, right? So, bots are nothing but automated scripts or programs that interact with web applications just like humans would. The difference is they operate without human control. They can do it at any moment of time. They're just software programs and lines of code that run in an automated fashion, so as to say, right? So a bot can be as simple as a short script that checks a page every few minutes, or as complex as a fully blown AI powered agent that adapts to the site's layout and defenses. They can run from a single laptop, a cloud server, or even a huge network of compromised machines or servers. So because they're software, bots don't need breaks, they don't get distracted, and they can work around the clock. They can be programmed to follow precise instructions. For example, they can just look at your website at 12 a.m. in the night and look for the latest price for the latest game console out there, and then add that to the cart, so as to say, right? So they can be programmed, and they can work around the clock. They can repeat actions perfectly, um, and scale up to thousands of sessions at once, right? So, in short, bots are tireless programmable workers on the internet. See, now whether that's good or bad depends completely on the intent of the person or the company that is deploying them, right? So some bots are good, like search engine crawlers or uptime checkers, but others are malicious. So let's look at the difference between good bots and bad bots now that we know what a bot is. Starting off with a good bot, right? A good bot could be something like a search engine crawler. You're talking about crawlers are basically just making your website seen when we're googling something. Think of something like SEOs. Chat assistants. Nowadays, a lot of the websites we go to, including Amazon, you get to see a lot of chat assistants who are basically bots where you can just ask them questions and they'll answer. If they know the answer, they'll be programmed to answer it in the best way possible. So they're again good bots because they're helping you to navigate to the website and answer your questions. Monitoring tools, right? Then you have bots that are constantly monitoring your website and making sure it's running as it's supposed to do and it's not down. Content aggregators, right? You need to have, especially if you're running a news website, you want to accumulate a lot of news information from different outlets, and bots can help you do that. So Those are some of the examples of good bots, although there are plenty more out there. Now, coming to the other side, bad bots, right? So this is where security comes in, and we try to stop these from causing chaos. So credential stuffers, right? These are the bots that are known to to do account takeover. By that I mean there's a lot of leaked passwords and sensitive information out there in the darknet, and there are bots that are known to you know capture that information and use that to log in across different websites. So bots can do that in automated fashion, and they can just bombard your website by fraudulent logins, which is obviously not great, right? Because then you have a fake user who's trying to impersonate a real person, so as to say. Scrapers. Scrapers are a big thing nowadays. So they are known to steal data from your website for mostly competitive reasons. If they are a competitor, they might deploy scrapers on your website to steal data um, and undercut prices. We'll talk more about that in the detail when I talk about the impacts and give you a really good example to explain what scrapers are. Inventory hoarders. I think it was like about 4 to 5 years ago during the COVID era. I remember I was trying to get my Nintendo Switch because it was, a few years in, and I really wanted to get a Switch to just kind of time pass during the COVID time. And I remember there was such a hard times, grabbing a Nintendo Switch online, especially because there were so many scalpers or inventory hoarders, just using scripts bots just to, capture those uh, Nintendo Switches whenever they were in stock. So they were remaining out of stock because script kiddies were just using these bot scripts to automatically just move the Nintendo Switch whenever it was in stock into their cart and just go at a quick checkout. So for a normal person like me or anyone else who was not using a script, we had to just go through the normal procedure of you know, getting that item into the cart and then doing the whole checkout process. Whereas there were people who were just employing bots, just do everything in automated fashion, which led to such a shortage of people not getting their Nintendo Switches. So this happens still to this date and is a big issue. DDoS attackers. In security, if you work in security, you would have heard of DOS or DDoS. But DDoS is nothing but when your website or server gets bombarded with tons of requests coming from various different computers or servers, um, and they bombard or make your server unusable basically because you're just affected by all of these bots that are just hitting your websites, which essentially make your servers go down and nobody's now able to access your website, which leads to a lot of revenue loss. So that's a little bit of the difference between good and bad bots. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight. Um, but moving on to understand in more depth of the impact of bot abuse, right? One of the first things is infrastructure strain. So when you have all of these bots hitting your websites, um, your server always has a certain capacity or certain requests per second that it can handle. Now, if bots go ahead and just hit your website for more than, I don't know, 600 hits per second, or they go at a very high rate, there's a very high chance that that might bring your server down. So all of this web traffic that is coming to your servers needs to be monitored, and the right traffic needs to go in. Number two, business losses, right? Scrapers, like we mentioned as one of the bad bots in the previous slide, they can lead to a lot of business losses, especially if you are in a competitive environment and let's say you're running an e-commerce website for that example. Scrapers can capture all of the data and then undercut that for the company that they're working for, and that will lead to a lot of revenue losses because that is giving the other company competitive advantage. And again, I'll go into more detail about this example in just a minute. Number three, user experience degradation. So now, if you have a lot of these bots just hitting your website, not only will you not be able to see have or have a good representation of who are the right people on your website, how many like humans are actually on your website and trying to browse your website and have a good amount of data so that you can use that for your business use cases. You won't be able to see that. You'll see a lot of skewed data on your website. But not only that, you'll see a lot of slower page load times if there's just tons of bots on your website. So user experience is going to take a very big hit whenever there's tons of bots across hitting your website and just makes it such a bad user experience. And if something like that happens, uh, I don't think a lot of your consumers would come back to your website, especially if you have an e-commerce website. I mean, if I think of myself for now, any anytime I see my page just loading and loading, you see the circle of death happening for more than 10 seconds. I usually just lose my patience and I just go back and go to a different website or just reload that and wait for it. If it doesn't happen, I am definitely changing the website. So that's gonna drive away your consumers from your websites again. So that's a little bit about bot abuse, right? Um, Moving on. Now, let me just give you an even more in-depth example of how bots and in this case like scrapers, right? This scrapers, which are type of bots that can affect your company or your website, right? So let's say you have an e-commerce website, right? And then you're let's say you're a travel booking platform, for example, right? You spend weeks tuning your pricing so that it's competitive and it's the best in the market. And what happens is your competitor goes ahead and gets these scrapers and they send it towards your website. Now, these bots or scrapers just don't sit um, like once in a while. They crawl your product pages constantly like clockwork. So once they find out that you're about to release something, or let's say they don't even know when you're going to release something, but they're on your pages constantly 24/7, and you have a special release window, let's say at 8 o'clock in the morning for a special sale. um, they go ahead and have your pricing data for that product, and they can instantly undercut you because they get that data, they send that over to the competitor, and the competitor reduces the price there. So now what that happens is, that might sound a little small, but in competitive markets, that's all it takes to steal your sale and have a big profit margin for the company that's getting the competitive information. In some cases, they'll even like take your listings and resell them somewhere else at a markup using your own stock to make themselves money. Um, the crazy part is all of this can happen automatically with zero humans involved as long as they have the scrapers programmatically, you know, um, just programmatically planned out, right? So and by the time you notice your sales is dipping, the damage is already done. So that's that's something that could happen. So moving on. Well, now let's just discuss and just change a little bit. So how to stay legal, right? So if you are trying to simulate a bot or trying to do something about bots, the first thing that I would say is it's unauthorized scraping or automated access can violate a lot of different laws. So I would not recommend for you to just generate a bot or simulate a scraper unless and until the website gives you permission to do so. So always do it in a controlled environment like an OS juice shop, or have your own server and use it against your own applications. Um, and don't just go to any large website and try to simulate this. Um, with that said, right, um, you might ask, what are the common tools for bot simulation, right? What can you do to figure out how bots work? Well, there is tool, something like a Puppeteer, which is a Node.js library that provides a high-level API to control Chrome or Chromium browsers over the DevTools protocol. And I have a sample code of how it looks like I bought script over here. But that's how a lot of ethical hackers can just figure out how bots and scrapers work is to really try it out for themselves. And again, I won't spend too much time into this because in my next video I'm actually gonna go ahead and do a bot simulation myself, obviously in a very controlled and ethical environment. Again, legitimate scraping is okay in a controlled environment, but do not try that in a live, e-commerce website like Amazon or any of those. All right. Now, now you might ask, so Addy, there's so much of bot activity happening in today's world. How can we detect all of these bot attacks? Well, there's four big ways to do this. First thing is fingerprinting, right? With fingerprinting, if you have the right tools at your disposal, you can use TLS fingerprints, which capture the request header order and the user agent, and a lot of the other nuances that come up with the popular bots or scrapers. Um, a good tool can capture TLS fingerprints and those HTTP headers and see if it's able to take in JavaScript, for example, um, and then accordingly capture that and give you that information if it's a bot or not. Because regular browsers can accept JavaScript, but a lot of the bots and scrapers cannot. So that's something that I would recommend for everyone to remember. Number two, behavioral analysis. So a lot of these bots, they have very static like patterns. So they'll have all of these abnormal mouse movements, unusual navigation patterns. Unlike us, where we, let's say we're trying to book a flight on, let's say on Spirit.com, right? And we would first maybe log in and then go for the different filters for searching a flight. So we have a very human-like approach, but using the right tools, we can find out how someone is trying to navigate, and a bot would usually just automatically hit the searches and hit the certain paths without really, going through different steps. So having behavioral analysis would be a great way to really figure out the different journeys and actions that a person is doing, right? Um, Number three, challenges. So we have all seen those, um, I would say, irritating captchas that take up a lot of our time. But hey, that is one of the most useful tools out there to capture bots, because bots are not really good with captures or something that requires a little bit of human brain intervention, right? So challenges like CAPTCHA will allow the will definitely make it easier to allow legitimate traffic go in rather than bots. And we've all seen that in different places, including Google's CAPTCHA, which has become very super popular right now. JavaScript execution test. So if you're able to have a tool that is testing if a request can handle JavaScript or not is a huge plus. Device fingerprinting is kind of similar to TLS fingerprinting, but just checking the device version, the browser version, and things of that nature, and see if it has a up-to-date user agent. Um, can be super helpful. And the last but not the least, rate limiting. Um, so this is super helpful, especially for preventing DOS attacks or DDoS attacks. Um, so with rate limiting, if you have a tool that can do rate limiting, you can throttle based on IP, session, account. So you can set a certain limit to what is acceptable to you. For example, you can have like, hey, I only can take uh, let's say 12 hits on my website from one IP in 2 seconds. Anything beyond that, I need that IP to be blocked. So you can set all of that if you have really good rate limiting tools so that your server does not get overwhelmed with requests.
Next, in the next video, we are actually gonna be more hands-on. I'm gonna show you how you can simulate a bot in a very controlled and a legal environment, and how you can use a tool to not only simulate that bot environment, but also to capture that bot activity. So it will be a really cool project to understand how a bot works and what is a tool that you can use to capture that, right? So for more on that on the next video, thank you for sticking with me this time. I'll see you soon.